On Thanksgiving Day, my daughter hissed, "Shut up, old man. No one is interested in your stories." In an instant, everything changed. I got up, left, blocked access to the accounts, canceled their mortgage, and left the country. Betrayal is a simple thing. The consequences are not. The next day, my phone flashed 104 missed calls. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you were listening in the comments. The fork trembled in my hand. Just slightly. Not enough for anyone at the table to notice, but I felt it. "Stop it, old man. Nobody cares about your stories. We're here to celebrate, not listen to your glory days." Connie's voice cut through the dining room, like sheet metal shearing. The 3 friends she'd invited, names I'd already forgotten, suddenly found their plates fascinating. Ralph, my son-in-law, smirked at his phone, thumb scrolling. The turkey carcass sat between us, picked nearly clean. I'd been talking about 1985, about the $800 I'd scraped together to lease my first bay at Fletcher Auto Works, about the bank manager who'd laughed me out of his office. I was halfway through explaining how I'd slept in the shop that first winter to save rent money when she cut me off. Now silence pressed against my eardrums. I set the fork down carefully, looked at my daughter. Her face showed pure irritation, jaw tight, eyes narrowed. Not embarrassment for speaking to me that way in front of guests, not regret, just annoyance that I'd disrupted the flow of her Thanksgiving dinner, the dinner I'd made possible, in the house I'd made possible. I stood slowly, my knees popped. 67 years of crawling under cars, lifting engines, kneeling on concrete. I reached for my jacket on the chair back, slipped it on, with movements I kept deliberate and calm. "Where are you going?" Connie's voice pitched higher now. "We haven't had dessert yet." I walked toward the front door. Behind me, Ralph whispered something to the man sitting next to him. I caught the words. Finally. Guy never knows when to quit talking. The door closed with a soft click, not a slam. I wouldn't give them that. Outside, the November air bit through my shirt. I'd parked on the street as usual. Ralph's charcoal gray F-350 took up most of the driveway. That truck cost more than my first 3 cars combined. Financed, of course. Everything with Ralph was financed, leveraged, borrowed against tomorrow. I walked past the new landscaping Connie had installed last month. Japanese maples, imported stone, accent lighting that made the whole front yard glow like a magazine spread. She'd texted me pictures, then mentioned the landscaper still needed to be paid. $2,200. I'd sent the check that afternoon. The wine I'd brought sat unopened on their granite countertop. $40 bottle. The gift bag with the picture frame, antique silver, the kind Connie used to admire in shop windows when she was small, probably still sat where I'd set it by the door. My car started on the first turn. 20-year-old Camry, maintained like surgical equipment. I pulled away from the curb, watching the house shrink in my rearview mirror. Warm light spilled from every window. Inside, they'd already returned to their conversation. Maybe someone was cutting the pumpkin pie. Maybe they'd forgotten I'd been there at all. Jacksonville streets rolled past, strip malls, traffic lights, the same route I'd driven 100 times to that house. Their house. The house I'd been paying for since 2018. $2,400 every month, withdrawn automatically from my checking account on the 15th. 72 payments. I'd kept every statement. My apartment complex looked tired under the streetlights, paint peeling on the stairwell rails, parking lot cracks sprouting weeds. I'd lived here 11 years, comfortable enough, clean. All I needed was 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen I barely used. Everything else was extra. I climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor, unlocked my door, stepped inside. Didn't turn on the lights immediately. Just stood in the dark kitchen, letting my eyes adjust. The refrigerator hummed. Through the wall, my neighbor's television murmured. When I finally flipped the switch, fluorescent light flooded the small space. I walked straight to my home office, really just the 2nd bedroom, barely big enough for a desk and filing cabinet. The filing cabinet's bottom drawer stuck like always. I yanked it twice before it slid open. Manila folders, organized by year. I pulled them all out, carried them to the desk in both arms. Mortgage statements, bank transfer records, text message screenshots I'd printed and dated. A legal pad where I'd tracked every request, every emergency, every crisis that required my checkbook. I spread them across the desk surface in chronological order. 2018 to present. The mortgage payments formed the foundation, clean, automatic, never late. But surrounding those were the extras, the emergency root canal, the property tax shortfall, Ralph's business loan that went south, the new HVAC system, Connie's investment opportunity that vanished, the refinancing fees when interest rates dropped and they wanted to pull out equity for renovations. I opened my laptop, waited for it to wake up, created a new spreadsheet, began entering numbers from the statements. Column A, date. Column B, description. Column C, amount. Column D, running total. The numbers climbed. 12,000, 35,000, 68,000, 115,000. My phone sat next to the keyboard. I picked it up, scrolled through recent messages from Connie. 3 weeks ago. Dad, can you cover this month? Ralph's commission check got delayed. 2 weeks ago? The dishwasher broke. Guy says $800 to replace. Can you Venmo me? Last Tuesday. Sending you the link for the Thanksgiving wine. Something nice for once, okay? I set the phone down, opened the desk drawer, pulled out a leather-bound notebook, the kind with thick cream pages. I'd bought it at an estate sale years ago, never found a use for it, now seemed appropriate. I uncapped a pen, wrote at the top of the first page, December 15th. Then below it began a list, short phrases, action items, each one simple, executable, final. When I finished writing, I checked the time. Nearly midnight. I picked up my phone again, scrolled through my contacts to the W's. Wayne Henderson, no. Walter Price, no. There, Nelson Webb. Webb was an attorney I'd met at a community center legal clinic 2 years ago. Sharp mind, straightforward. Didn't waste time on pleasantries or padding his bills. He'd helped me with my will and some contract review when I sold the auto shop. We'd stayed in touch, occasional coffee. He knew I wasn't the type to call unless it mattered. The phone rang 4 times. I expected voicemail. It was late, the day after Thanksgiving. But he picked up. Nelson, it's Roscoe Wells. My voice came out steady, calm, like I was ordering parts from a supplier. I need to see you tomorrow morning, first thing. Brief pause, then, how early? 8 work? I'll be there. Everything okay? I looked at the documents covering my desk, the numbers in my spreadsheet, the list in the notebook. It will be, I said. See you tomorrow. I ended the call before he could ask more questions. Set the phone face down on the desk. The screen went dark. The numbers didn't lie. 6 years. Over $200,000. And for what? The coffee sat untouched on the bathroom counter, steam rising into nothing. I'd made it out of habit, then forgot about it while showering. The hot water had run cold before I noticed. Didn't matter. I wasn't tired. I dressed in khakis and a pressed button-down. Navy blue. The same outfit I'd worn to city council meetings, back when I was fighting for small business zoning changes. Professional, but not pretentious. I gathered the documents from last night, squared the edges, slipped them into a manila folder, checked my watch, 7:15. Traffic would be light the morning after Thanksgiving. Downtown Jacksonville looked emptied out. Most of the office towers stood dark, skeleton crews running holiday shifts. I found parking easily in the garage beneath Webb's building, took the elevator to the 9th floor. The lobby directory listed his firm, Webb and Associates, Suite 9-2. I arrived 16 minutes early, sat in one of the leather chairs facing the reception desk. No receptionist today, just me and the hum of overhead lights. At exactly 8 o'clock, Nelson Webb emerged from the hallway, 50s, graying at the temples, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of his usual suit. He carried a travel mug. Roscoe. He extended his hand. I shook it. Come on back. His office overlooked the St. Johns River. Family photos lined the credenza. Wife, 2 daughters, a golden retriever. Law degree from Florida State. Professional memberships in frames. Everything neat, organized, intentional. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. What's going on? I slid the folder across the polished wood. He opened it, began reading the first document, a mortgage statement from Wells Fargo. His eyes moved down the page, then he flipped to the next sheet. Bank transfer. Another mortgage statement. A printed text exchange. His expression shifted from polite interest to something harder to read. How long? He asked. 6 years, since 2018. He continued reading, pulled out the legal pad where I'd tracked the supplemental payments, ran his finger down the column of numbers. When he finished, he set everything down carefully, turned to his computer, typed something, studied the screen. Florida Statutes, Chapter 689, he said, pointing at his monitor. Revocation of gifts under specific circumstances. One of those circumstances is extreme ingratitude or abuse by the recipient. He looked at me. Based on what you've shown me, you have grounds. The house is still legally yours. The gift deed can be rescinded. How does it work? He pulled up another document on his screen. We file a notarized revocation of the gift deed with the county recorder. We notify Wells Fargo that you're ceasing payments and invoking your right to reclaim the property. We freeze or close any joint accounts. Timeline? I can have the paperwork ready in 3 days. Filing takes another 2. But there's a strategic question. He leaned back in his chair. You file this. Your daughter's going to know immediately. You prepared for that conversation? I thought about Connie's face across the Thanksgiving table, the irritation, the dismissal, Ralph's smirk, the way they'd all return to laughing once I left. I want them to find out at the worst possible moment, I said. Not when I'm here to hear excuses. Webb's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. Understanding. He nodded slowly. When? I'm leaving the country December 15th, Costa Rica. Staying a while. He pulled out a calculator, tapped numbers, wrote something on a notepad, slid it across the desk toward me. $207,600. That's your total documented expenditure, he said. Mortgage, supplements, emergencies, everything. He paused. We file everything December 16th, day after you leave. The mortgage company will notify them within 24 hours. By then, you'll be out of reach. How long before they lose the house? If they can't make the payments, 4 to 6 months for foreclosure proceedings. But the psychological impact hits immediately. The moment they open that certified letter. He met my eyes. This what you want? I thought about the landscaping. The new kitchen cabinets Connie had mentioned needing. Ralph's truck in the driveway. The way my stories about building something from nothing bored them. The way my presence at their table had been tolerated, not welcomed. Yes, I said. Webb turned back to his computer, began typing. I'll need you to sign some documents. Power of attorney for the filing while you're out of the country. Notarized statements. I'll have everything ready by Monday. Bill me for rush service. I'm not worried about that. He stopped typing, looked at me again. You sure about Costa Rica? I've been thinking about it for a year. Had my passport renewed last spring. It wasn't a lie. I had been thinking about it, just not seriously until last night. We spent another 40 minutes on details, account numbers, timeline specifics, contact protocols while I was abroad. Webb took notes in a legal pad, methodical and thorough. When we finished, he walked me to the door. You'll hear from me Monday, he said. Enjoy the trip, Roscoe. In the elevator down, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not rage, just a kind of hollow clarity, like looking through clean glass. My phone buzzed as I reached the parking garage. Text message. Connie. Dad, sorry about yesterday. Will you come for Christmas? I sat in the driver's seat, read the message twice. Sorry about yesterday. Not sorry for what I said, not sorry for how I treated you. Just sorry about yesterday, like it was weather that had passed. I set the phone face down on the passenger seat without responding, started the car, drove home. That evening, I opened my laptop at the kitchen table, typed Flights Jacksonville to San Jose, Costa Rica, December 15th into the search bar, found a direct flight departing 10:45 a.m., one-way ticket. I entered my credit card information, clicked Confirm Purchase. The confirmation email arrived 30 seconds later. Next, banking website. I logged into the savings account I shared with Connie. Joint account we'd opened when she turned 18, back when I thought teaching her about money management would help her value it. Current balance, $47,200. My deposits mostly. Money I'd been setting aside for emergencies, for her emergencies. I opened a new personal savings account. Transferred $47,000. Left $200 in the joint account. Enough to keep it technically open, not enough to matter. Then I called the real estate agent who had helped me buy this apartment 11 years ago. Maria something. I found her card in my wallet, somehow still there after all this time. Maria, Roscoe Wells, I need to sell. Quickly. I'll price below market. She asked questions. I gave short answers. She said she'd come by tomorrow to assess the property, start paperwork. I thanked her, ended the call. On my bookshelf, between a repair manual and a box of tax documents, sat a small photo album. Blue leather, edges worn. I pulled it out, carried it to the table, flipped it open. Connie at 6, missing her front teeth, holding up a drawing she'd made of our family. Connie at 12, basketball uniform, sweaty and grinning after a game I'd coached. Connie at 16, prom dress, looking uncertain and beautiful. Connie at 22, college graduation. Me standing next to her in the only suit I owned. I closed the album, carried it to my bedroom, set it in the suitcase I'd pulled from the closet. Back at the kitchen table, I opened my notebook to a fresh page, drew a timeline. December 16th, web files. December 20th, bank notices arrive. January burned, first missed payment. January 15th, second missed payment. February, default notices. March, foreclosure proceedings begin. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Connie. Can you also send that payment for the landscaper? He's asking again. I saved the entire text thread to my laptop. Screenshots dated, organized. Evidence that I'd maintained contact, that she'd continued asking, that I'd been responsive until I wasn't. I didn't block her number yet. That would come later, after I landed, after web filed, when there'd be no chance of her calling and catching me in a moment of weakness that didn't exist but might have. Once, I picked up a pen, circled December 15th on the calendar hanging above my desk, circled December 16th in red ink. 2 weeks. Then they'd understand what it felt like to lose everything at once. The next morning, I called Webb before 8. Nothing gets filed until December 16th, I said. Not a day earlier. Understood. His voice carried the same professional calm as always. Everything's prepared. I'll execute on the 16th at 9 a.m. sharp. And Wells Fargo? They'll receive notice the same day. Electronic and certified mail. By evening, your daughter will know. I ended the call, set the phone on the kitchen counter. 2 weeks, 14 days to make myself disappear while appearing perfectly normal. 3 days later, I sat across from a banker at Wells Fargo's downtown branch. The same bank that held Connie's mortgage. Different department, different representative. A woman in her 30s with neat hair and a practiced smile. I slid the account closure form across her desk. She scanned it, her expression shifting slightly. This is a joint account with Connie Wells Morgan. She'll be notified of the closure. I'm aware. Process it today. May I ask the reason for... No. She typed something into her computer, paused. The balance is $47,000. How would you like to receive wire transfer to this account? I handed her a slip of paper with my new Costa Rican bank routing information. Complete the transfer by end of business. She processed everything without further questions. Professional courtesy masking obvious curiosity. By 4 p.m., I received confirmation. The money had moved. The joint account no longer existed. By the end of that week, my apartment had a buyer. Cash offer, $220,000. The real estate agent, a thin man named Marcus who wore too much cologne, had questioned my pricing. You're leaving money on the table at this price, he'd said, standing in my living room. Speed matters more than profit. He'd shrugged. Didn't argue with a motivated seller. The buyer wanted to close before Christmas. I signed the paperwork on December 9th. The money would hit my account. December 28th. By then, I'd be long gone. Throughout those 2 weeks, my phone lit up regularly. Connie. Each message more frequent than the last. Each one revealing her growing anxiety. Dad, are you mad? Ralph wants to talk to you. Call me when you get this. We need $8,500 for roof repairs. Can you help? I responded once. Tuesday evening, December 10th. Single word, busy. Nothing else, no explanation, no engagement. Just that one word, then silence again. She called twice after that. I didn't answer. Let them go to voicemail. Didn't listen to the messages? On December 14th, I met Bonnie Preston at a coffee shop near Riverside. She was 50-something, gray-streaked hair pulled back, dressed in a professional blazer that had seen a few closings. Webb had recommended her. Discreet, experienced. Knew how to handle complicated situations without asking unnecessary questions. I slid a folder across the small table. Inside, property details for Connie's house, mortgage information, estimated market value based on recent comps. Bonnie opened it, scanned the first page, looked up at me. "This is your daughter's house? It will be mine again, soon." She studied me for a moment, then, "This is delicate, I assume." "Very, but completely legal. Can you handle it?" "I've handled worse." She closed the folder. "When do you need me?" "December 16th. I'll email you confirmation that morning. Be ready to list it immediately. No questions asked." She nodded once. "I'll wait for your call." We shook hands. I left first, walked to my car in the parking lot. The temperature had dropped. December in Florida meant 60s instead of 80s. I'd need warmer clothes in Costa Rica's mountains. Not that it mattered much. That evening I returned to my apartment for the last time as a resident. Most of my furniture had sold to the buyer. He'd wanted it furnished. What remained sat in neat stacks by the door. 2 suitcases, a laptop bag, 1 box of documents I'd shipped separately. The walls looked bare, nail holes where pictures used to hang, lighter rectangles on the paint where frames had blocked the sun. 11 years compressed into 2 pieces of luggage. I walked through each room once. Kitchen, empty counters, clean sink. Bathroom, nothing in the medicine cabinet. Bedroom, mattress on the floor, sheets folded at the foot. Living room, echo when I stepped. My phone buzzed. Connie again. "Dad, please call me. We need to talk about Christmas." I read it, didn't respond. Set the phone face down on the kitchen counter. In the bedroom, I opened both suitcases. First one, clothes, practical items, pants, shirts, 1 jacket, comfortable shoes, nothing fancy, nothing I'd miss if I never came back. Second suitcase, documents, laptop, passport. The blue photo album with pictures of Connie at various ages. A manila envelope containing copies of every legal document Webb had prepared. Backup files on 2 thumb drives. Everything I'd need to start over or to prove what I'd done, depending on which became necessary. I checked my watch. 8:15 p.m. My flight left at 10:45 tomorrow morning. I'd set my alarm for 4:30. Plenty of time. I carried the suitcases to the door, set them side by side, looked around the empty apartment one more time. Tomorrow, I would disappear. The day after, they would understand. I turned off the lights, pulled the door closed behind me, heard the lock click, walked down the stairs to my car with both suitcases, drove to a cheap hotel near the airport, checked in under my name, room 237, single bed, thin walls, the smell of industrial cleaner. I lay down fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. The alarm clock on the nightstand glowed red. 9:03, 9:04, 9:05. Sleep came eventually. Dreamless, final. The alarm shrieked at 4:30. I was already awake. I showered quickly, dressed in jeans and a button-down shirt. Comfortable for 12 hours of travel. I double-checked the bathroom, the closet, under the bed. Nothing left behind. Checkout was automatic. I'd paid with a card when I arrived. By 5:15 I was on the road. Jacksonville International Airport appeared through morning darkness, lit up like a small city. I parked in long-term parking, locked my Camry, pocketed the keys. Someone would pick it up eventually. I'd signed the title over to the apartment buyer as part of the deal. He'd collect it next week. Inside the terminal, TSA moved efficiently despite the early hour. I passed through security, found my gate, departure, 10:45 to Miami. Connection, 1:15 to San Jose. I'd land in Costa Rica by late afternoon. At the gate, I pulled out my phone. One last message to send before I went dark. I typed carefully, "Gone on vacation, don't bother me." Sent it to Connie. Watched the status change to delivered. Then I took a paperclip from my wallet, ejected the SIM card tray, removed the tiny chip, walked to the nearest trash can, dropped it in among coffee cups and boarding pass stubs. Back at my seat, I powered the phone off completely. The screen went black. I slipped it into my laptop bag. Boarding began at 10:20. I found my seat, aisle, exit row. Nobody next to me. The flight attendant came through with beverages before takeoff. "Coffee, sir?" "No, thank you." The plane lifted off at 10:50, 5 minutes late. I watched Florida's coastline shrink through the window. Green land, blue water, then clouds, then nothing. I opened my laptop, reviewed documents I downloaded before leaving. Property records, bank statements, Webb's timeline. Everything organized, backed up, ready. I didn't need internet. Just confirmation that I hadn't forgotten anything. I hadn't. Miami came and went. 1 hour layover. I bought a sandwich I didn't eat. Boarded the second flight. Slept through most of it. San Jose appeared through breaks in clouds, mountains, red tile roofs, dense green vegetation. The plane descended. Wheels touched concrete. I was 5 hours and 2,000 miles from Jacksonville. Customs took 20 minutes. I showed my passport, explained I was visiting for tourism, staying 2 months initially. The officer stamped the page without interest. Welcome to Costa Rica. Outside, I found a taxi. Gave the driver an address in Escazú, a suburb west of the city. The apartment I'd rented online, $950 a month, furnished, short-term lease. The landlord had emailed me keys and gate code. The taxi wound through streets I didn't know, past businesses with Spanish signs, parks with unfamiliar trees. Everything felt distant, separate, exactly what I needed. The apartment complex sat on a hillside with a view of mountains, modern construction, white walls, security gate. I paid the driver, carried my suitcases up 2 flights of stairs, Unit 3B. The key worked on the first try. Inside, tile floors, basic furniture, small kitchen, bedroom with a decent mattress, a balcony overlooking the valley. I set my suitcases down, walked to the window. The sun was setting behind the mountains, turning everything orange and purple. I unpacked the laptop, connected to the Wi-Fi network. The password was taped to the router. I logged in, opened my email client, but didn't check messages. Not yet. Instead, I made coffee using the machine I found in the kitchen, sat on the balcony, breathed air that didn't smell like Florida. The next morning in Jacksonville, while I slept through the time zone difference, Nelson Webb walked into the Duval County Courthouse at 9 a.m. sharp. He approached the clerk's window, slid a file across the counter. Revocation of gift deed, he said. Property at 4742 Riverside Oaks Drive. The clerk stamped it. Official, recorded, filed. Simultaneously, Webb dropped an envelope in the mail slot outside the courthouse. Wells Fargo Mortgage Services, Loss Mitigation Department. Inside, official notification that Roscoe Wells was ceasing all mortgage payment obligations, effective January 1st, 2025. By late afternoon, Florida time, early afternoon, where I sat drinking coffee in Costa Rica, Wells Fargo's system processed the notification. Automated protocols triggered, an email generated, a certified letter printed. Connie was at home when her phone buzzed. She picked it up, saw the sender, Wells Fargo. Opened it. I imagine her face going white, the way her hand must have trembled. The confusion, then the cold spread of understanding. She showed Ralph. They read it together on her phone screen, then on his laptop. Your mortgage payment sponsor has withdrawn from financial obligation. Payment of $2,400 due by January 1st, 2025. Failure to pay will result in default proceedings and potential foreclosure. Ralph's voice, I imagine, came out strangled. What does this mean? Did your dad do this? Connie tried calling me immediately. My number rang once in the cellular void, then nothing. The phone sat powered off in my apartment drawer in Costa Rica, 3 time zones away. She called again. Again. 20 times in an hour. Each call went nowhere. No voicemail, no connection. Just silence. She texted. 50 messages by midnight. Dad, pick up. This is serious. We got a notice from the bank. Call me back immediately. Dad, where are you? Your phone's not working. Please, whatever's wrong, we can fix it. None of them delivered. The phone didn't exist anymore, not in any meaningful way. Ralph pulled up their bank account on his laptop. Checking balance, $1,200. The mortgage payment, $2,400. Where are we supposed to get the other $1,200 by New Year's? His voice carried the edge of panic. Connie didn't answer. She was calling Roscoe's old business partner, a man named Patterson, who'd bought half the auto shop equipment when Roscoe retired. Mr. Patterson, it's Connie Wells. Have you heard from my father recently? Roscoe? Not in months. Why? Something wrong? I can't reach him. If you hear from him, please have him call me. She tried 3 more former colleagues. None of them had heard from me. None of them knew where I'd gone. By midnight Jacksonville time, Connie left her final voicemail. I never heard it. The phone stayed dark in the drawer, But later, much later, I'd listen to the recording. Dad, please, I'm scared. Just, please call me back. In Costa Rica, I sat on my balcony in the evening warmth, looking at mountains I couldn't name. My phone stayed powered off inside. I knew what was happening in Florida, could picture it clearly, didn't need to see it. I'd disappeared. And back in Jacksonville, their world was starting to collapse. Morning light woke me on December 17th. No alarm needed. My body clock hadn't adjusted to Costa Rican time yet. I made coffee in the small kitchen, carried it to the balcony. Mountains rose in the distance, green and sharp against blue sky. The air smelled different here, cleaner somehow, less weighted. I'd been unreachable for 36 hours, long enough? From my bedroom drawer, I retrieved my phone and the Costa Rican SIM card I'd purchased at the airport. I inserted the chip carefully, pressed the power button. The screen lit up. I connected to Wi-Fi. Then the notifications started. Ping, 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 ping. The numbers climbed. 47, 63, 81, 92, 104 missed calls. 87 from Connie, 12 from Ralph, 5 from unknown numbers, probably Wells Fargo, maybe debt collectors already circling. The voicemail icon showed 35 messages. The inbox was full. I pressed play on the first message, put the phone on speaker, set it on the table. Connie's voice came through sharp and furious. How could you do this to us? After everything you're going to destroy us? I skipped forward. Message 15, the tone had changed. Now she was crying. Dad, please call me back. We can fix this. Whatever I said, whatever I did, I'm sorry. Just call me. Skip forward again. Message 28. Ralph's voice this time, attempting reason. Mr. Wells, it's Ralph. Look, I know things got heated, but this is extreme. We're talking about Connie's future here. Our future. Can we talk about this like adults? Call me back. Last message. Connie again, but different now. Hard edges instead of tears. Fine. You want to play this way? We've hired a lawyer. You won't get away with this. I listened to the final seconds of silence, then pressed to delete all. 35 messages vanished. The inbox cleared. I powered off the phone, set it aside. Opened my laptop, connected through a VPN, accessed my encrypted email. Subject line, status update. I typed the message to Webb, hit send. 2 hours later, his response arrived. Roscoe, they've retained counsel. Bradford and Associates, low-tier firm. Filed motion to invalidate revocation, citing procedural grounds. Weak case. I have your documented evidence ready. 47 text messages requesting money over 6 years, 3 recorded phone conversations, legal, one-party consent FL, 2 neighbor affidavits verbal abuse. They have nothing. Court date likely mid-February if they push. Advise, sit tight. NW. I read it twice, saved it to a folder marked legal, closed the laptop. Over the next week, I monitored the situation from a distance. Each morning, I'd check email. Webb sent updates every few days. Connie had hired Bradford for $200 an hour, probably found him through a desperate Google search. The motion to invalidate was filed December 20th. Arguments were thin, desperation disguised as legal strategy. I accessed Florida's public court records through a secure connection. Searched Wells Morgan versus Wells. Found the filing, read through the motion, weak language, emotional appeals. Nothing substantive. Christmas came and went. I spent it alone in the apartment, reading a book I'd bought from a street vendor. The plot didn't matter. Just something to fill time while the plan executed itself back in Florida. By December 31st, I'd settled into a routine. Morning coffee on the balcony, afternoon walks through Escazú's quiet streets, evening meals at small restaurants where nobody knew my name or cared to learn it. I was preparing for an early night when the email notification appeared on my laptop screen. From Connie Wells Morgana email. Subject, please Dad. I opened it. Dad, we understand we were wrong. Forgive us. But we're going to lose the house. We have no money. I'm begging you. Help us one more time. Just this once. Please. Connie, I read it twice. Felt something flicker. Not regret exactly. Just recognition that this woman used to be the little girl who'd drawn pictures of our family with crayons, who'd asked me to teach her how to change a tire, who'd hug me at her high school graduation and whispered thank you. That person didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never had. I closed the laptop without responding, changed into walking shoes, left the apartment as the sun set, painting everything orange and purple. I walked down the hillside toward a park with a view of the valley. Other people were gathering, families setting up blankets, couples holding hands, groups of friends laughing. New Year's Eve celebrations forming organically. I stood apart from them, watching as darkness fell and the first fireworks began in the distance. Bursts of color against black sky, voices counting down in Spanish around me. Midnight came, people cheered, embraced, kissed, celebrated whatever hope the new year represented. I stood alone with my phone in my pocket, powered off, silent. In Florida, Connie was probably refreshing her email, waiting for my response. She'd be waiting a long time. The new year was here. With it came the first missed mortgage payment. The clock was ticking. January 1st arrived in Jacksonville with the kind of clarity that made bad news worse. Connie and Ralph sat at their kitchen table. The laptop screen showed their bank statement. Checking account balance, $1,200. The mortgage payment due today, $2,400. They needed $1,200 immediately. They had nothing. "We have to sell something," Ralph said. His voice came out flat, defeated. "What? What do we have worth anything?" Ralph looked out the window at his truck, the charcoal F-350 he'd bought 2 years ago. His pride, the thing he'd financed for 60 months at 8% interest because his credit score couldn't get him better terms. "The truck," he said quietly. By that afternoon, they stood in a used car lot on Phillips Highway. A dealer circled the F-350, inspecting it with practiced disinterest, kicked the tires, opened the hood, walked around back. "I can do $7,500, he said. "Cash today." "That truck's worth $12,000. Ralph's hands formed fists at his sides. "You know it." The dealer shrugged. "Not when you need to sell in 2 hours, it's not. 75, or good luck on Craigslist." Ralph stared at his truck. The payment book was in the glove box. He still owed $19,000 on it. 85, he said. "Final." The dealer considered, nodded. "Deal." Ralph signed the title over, took the cash, called an Uber from the lot, didn't look back. Over the next week, they scraped together the rest. Connie borrowed $3,000 from 2 different friends. Awkward phone calls, promises to repay soon that sounded hollow even as she made them. She took out a payday loan at a strip mall office, signing forms she didn't read carefully. $1,000 at 35% interest, due in 30 days. By January 8th, they'd made the mortgage payment. Barely. The remaining balance, $10,100. Enough for maybe 4 more months if they were extremely careful. But mid-month, their attorney called with news. Mr. Bradford spread documents across his desk, phone pressed between shoulder and ear. "There's a date discrepancy here," he said. December 2018 on the deed, but the notary stamp says December 2019. Connie leaned forward in her chair across from him. "What does that mean?" "It means we have grounds to challenge. It's not much, but it's something." "Can we win?" Bradford hesitated. Then, "We can delay." "Maybe." He filed the motion January 15th. Technical error in gift deed documentation. Request to invalidate revocation based on procedural deficiency. 3 days later, I received Webb's email in Costa Rica. Roscoe, motion filed by opposing counsel. Clerical error on gift deed date. Dec 2018 vs. Dec 2019 on notary. Court hearing scheduled Feb 10, 9 a.m. EST via Zoom. This is procedural noise. Evidence of ingratitude is ironclad. Worst case, judge orders refiling, adds 2 to 3 months. Best case, dismissed outright. Recommend you attend hearing via video to demonstrate engagement. NW. I sat in a cafe in Escazú, reading the email on my phone. Around me, people ordered coffee in rapid Spanish. Outside the window, palm trees swayed in warm breeze. A clerical error, a single mistyped date. It changed nothing fundamental, just added delay to the inevitable. I typed my response, proceed. I'll attend via video if needed. February 10th arrived cold and gray in Jacksonville, warm and sunny in Costa Rica. I sat at my apartment desk, laptop open. I'd dressed in a button-down shirt, business casual for court. The wall behind me was blank and neutral, nothing indicating my location. At 9 a.m. Eastern Time, I joined the Zoom meeting. The court clerk admitted me to the virtual courtroom. On my screen, Judge Harrison, late 50s, reading glasses, no-nonsense expression. Connie and Ralph in one frame, sitting at a table with Bradford between them. Webb in another frame, his office background familiar. The judge spoke first. We're here regarding Wells Morgan versus Wells. Motion to invalidate gift revocation. Counsel, proceed. Bradford cleared his throat. Your Honor, my client made a mistake. A single mistake during a stressful holiday. But this revocation was executed with malicious haste, evidenced by the clerical errors. Mr. Wells is attempting to render his daughter homeless over one argument. Webb's turn. His voice came through calm and clear. Your Honor, the clerical error is immaterial. Florida Statute 689.01 requires only substantial compliance with form requirements. The revocation is based on documented ingratitude spanning 6 years, not one argument. He shared his screen. Text message threads appeared, dozens of them, dates and timestamps visible, names redacted but the pattern obvious. Request after request, emergency after emergency. I've submitted 47 text messages, Webb continued. 3 audio recordings, legally obtained under Florida's one-party consent law, and sworn affidavits from 2 neighbors confirming verbal abuse. He played a 10-second audio clip. Connie's voice, "Stop it, old man. Nobody cares about your stories." On my screen, I watched Connie's face go pale. Ralph looked down at the table. The judge reviewed the document silently for 3 minutes, made notes on a legal pad, finally looked up at the camera. I find the clerical error insufficient to invalidate the revocation. The evidence of ingratitude is substantial and well documented. He paused. However, given the circumstances, I'm granting the respondent 60 days to secure alternative housing, until April 15th. The revocation stands. Mr. Wells retains full property rights. The gavel sound came through digitally. Artificial, but final. Bradford closed his folder. Connie's hands covered her face. Ralph put his head down on the table. I watched their reactions on my screen. Felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just the quiet confirmation that everything was proceeding exactly as designed. The judge disconnected. Webb disconnected. I closed the laptop, stood, stretched, walked to the window. The sun was bright in Costa Rica. A beautiful day. In Jacksonville, Connie and Ralph sat in silence after the meeting ended. The laptop screen showed, "Meeting has ended," in gray letters. Ralph spoke first. 60 days, April 15th. Connie didn't respond, just stared at the wall. My phone buzzed, text from Webb. Clean win, revocation upheld, 60 days to vacate. Next step, list the property. Ready? I typed back, ready. The judge had given them 60 days. It wouldn't be enough. Ralph paced the living room, 6 steps to the window, turn, 6 steps back to the couch. His hands formed fists, released, formed again. "This is your fault." His voice came out tight, controlled rage barely leashed. "All of it. That Thanksgiving dinner, shut up, old man. You remember saying that?" Connie sat on the couch, eyes red and swollen. "Oh, so this is all on me? You were there. You said nothing. I didn't tell him his stories were boring. No, you just sat there smirking at your phone." The argument died as fast as it started. What was the point? The court had ruled. They had 54 days left. 2 weeks later, Connie met with a realtor at a coffee shop downtown. She'd found the woman through a friend's recommendation. Desperate plans formed in Connie's mind. Sell the house themselves, split the profit with her father. Everyone walks away with something. The realtor opened her tablet, typed in the address, tapped the screen a few times, squinted, then looked up at Connie with something like pity. "Mrs. Wells Morgan, you're not the legal owner of this property." "What do you mean? We've lived here for 6 years." "Living somewhere doesn't make you the owner." She turned the tablet around, showed Connie the screen. "See this? Owner of record, Roscoe Wells. Revocation filed December 16th, approved February 10th. You're listed as occupant, not owner." The coffee in Connie's cup went cold while she stared at the words on the screen. In Costa Rica, I sat at my apartment desk reading Webb's email. "Roscoe, update, House legally yours again. Mortgage unpaid, Wells Fargo demanding $220K, balance plus penalties. Current market value, $385K. Options. 1. Let bank foreclose, damages your credit, takes 6 months. 2. Sell now, quick cash, clean break. Your call. NW. I type my response without hesitation. Sell it. Price it at $360K. Contact Bonnie Preston. I want it done in 30 days. Clicked send. Closed the laptop. I didn't want to own that house. Didn't want the mortgage payments. Didn't want any connection to it. Fast sale, clean break, move on. Bonnie Preston received my authorization on March 2nd. By March 4th, she'd taken listing photos, walking through the house while Connie and Ralph were at work. A photographer capturing every room. Professional staging. Bright lighting. The place looked better in photos than it ever had in person. Connie came home that evening to find a lockbox on the front door and a for sale sign planted in the lawn. She called me immediately. The call didn't go through. Number blocked. She tried my email, bounced back, address no longer valid. She tried texting. Message failed to deliver. I'd made myself unreachable, completely. The next week, Connie and Ralph began searching for rental housing. With their combined income of $75,000 a year, they could afford maybe $1,500 a month in rent. But every apartment required security deposit, first month, last month, application fees. Total upfront, $4,500 to $5,000. They had maybe $3,000 left after living expenses. Connie handed a clipboard back to a rental office manager. The woman typed on her computer, frowned. I'm sorry, your credit score is... We require $650 minimum. You're at $590. We can pay extra deposit, double. Policy is policy. I'm sorry. They tried 6 more places, same result. Missed mortgage payments had destroyed their credit. Nobody would rent to them. By March 12th, Bonnie brought me an offer. A young couple, first-time buyers, cash deal, $360,000, no inspection contingencies. Quick closing. I accepted within an hour. The sale closed March 26th. I received $360,000, paid off Wells Fargo's $220,000 balance, paid $3,000 in closing costs. Net profit, $137,000. I transferred the money to my Costa Rican account. The house was no longer mine, no longer theirs. Gone. April 15th arrived cold and gray in Jacksonville. The Duval County Sheriff pulled up at 9 a.m. in a marked vehicle, professional, not aggressive, just doing his job. He knocked on the door. Ralph answered. Folks, I need you out by 5 p.m. Take what you can. Rest will be cleared tomorrow. Connie appeared behind Ralph. Her voice came out small. Where are we supposed to go? The sheriff's expression softened slightly. That's not my department, ma'am, but you need to be out. They'd been packing for days. Suitcases, boxes, garbage bags full of clothes. Ralph had bought a used Honda Civic after selling the truck. 9 years old, 140,000 miles, but it ran. They loaded it methodically. Box of dishes in the trunk, garbage bag of clothes in the back seat. Suitcase on the roof rack, tied down with bungee cords. Photo albums, a lamp, kitchen appliances, whatever fit. The furniture stayed, the couch they'd bought on credit, the dining table, the beds. Too big for the car, too expensive to rent a truck. Neighbors watched from windows and doorways. Didn't offer help, just watched. By 4:30, the car was stuffed full. Back seat piled to the ceiling, trunk barely closing. Ralph walked through the house one last time. Empty rooms, nail holes in the walls, lighter rectangles on the paint where pictures used to hang. They drove away at 4:45. Connie didn't look back. Ralph did once in the rearview mirror. The Sunshine Inn sat on the outskirts of Jacksonville, near the highway. Budget motel. Weekly rates advertised on a faded sign out front. $65 per night. Connie stood at the front desk while a bored clerk swiped her credit card. $65 per night. Checkout is 11 a.m. Need more nights, you gotta come back and pay. The clerk handed her a key attached to a plastic tag. Room 17. The room smelled like cigarette smoke masked by industrial cleaner. 2 double beds with thin comforters. A TV bolted to the dresser. Bathroom with peeling tiles and a shower head that dripped constantly. Ralph dropped the suitcases on the floor. Sat on the bed. Springs creaked under his weight. Connie sat on the other bed. Pulled out her phone. scrolled through rental listings she couldn't afford. One-bedroom apartments, $1,200 a month, $1,500, $1,800, all requiring deposits they didn't have. The TV flickered. Local news. Something about rising housing prices in Jacksonville. She turned it off. Ralph lay back, staring at the water-stained ceiling. Connie kept scrolling. The motel charge by the night, $65. At that rate, their money would last 5 weeks. Then what? The alarm on Ralph's phone went off at 6:30. He slapped it silent, swung his legs off the bed. The motel room was dim. They kept the curtains closed to block out the parking lot lights. He shaved at the bathroom sink with cold water. Saving money, put on one of his 3 work shirts, rotated through the week, left without breakfast. They were down to instant coffee and granola bars. Connie woke after he left, lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Water stains formed shapes, animals, faces, nothing. This was day 4 at the Sunshine Inn. She pulled Ralph's laptop from under the bed. Her own sold 2 weeks ago for $200. Opened Indeed.com. Scrolled through job listings. Retail associate, receptionist, data entry clerk. Applied to everything. Each application required a permanent address. She typed, Sunshine Inn, Room 17, Jacksonville, FL. Knew how it looked. By early May, the math stopped working. Motel room, $65 per night, $1,950 per month. Food, fast food, cheap groceries, no kitchen to cook in. $400 a month. Gas for Ralph's commute, $200. Phone bills, $120. Total, $2,670 monthly. Ralph's income from the dealership, $2,800 maybe. His commissions had been dropping. Connie's unemployment, nothing yet. Application still processing. They were losing ground every week. Her phone rang May 7th, salon owner's name on the screen. Hello? Connie, I heard you're staying at a motel. The owner's voice carried false sympathy. I'm sorry for your situation, but we can't have instability affecting the salon. I have to let you go. I've worked for you for 3 years. Give me another chance. I'm sorry. This is final. I'll mail your last check. The call ended. Connie sat motionless for 10 minutes, then texted Ralph. Lost the job. At the dealership, Ralph stood on the lot, talking to a customer about a used sedan. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, excused himself, walked behind the building, leaned against the wall, closed his eyes. His manager pulled him aside 2 days later. Ralph, you've been here 8 years. I've never seen you like this. 2 weeks without a sale. What's going on? Personal issues. I'll turn it around. You've got 2 weeks to show improvement, or I'll have to move you to hourly with no commission. Ralph nodded, didn't trust his voice. Mid-May, they sat in a government office across from a housing authority worker. Forms spread across the desk. The worker typed into an old computer. You're eligible for Section 8, but the wait list is currently 8 to 12 months. Connie's stomach dropped. We don't have 8 months. We're living in a motel. I understand, but there are 4,000 families ahead of you. I'm sorry. The worker added them to the list. Number 4, 1,847. Late May, Ralph came back to the motel room and sat on his bed. Didn't turn on the TV. Just sat. My mother called. She's got a spare bedroom in Georgia. We could stay there, rent-free, until we get back on our feet. Connie's jaw tightened. I'm not living with your mother. Pride's expensive, Connie. We're barely eating. I said no. Then what's your plan? Because we're running out of money. She had no answer. By the last week of May, their checking account showed $312. Ralph's next paycheck didn't come for another week. They started skipping meals. Connie's phone got shut off. Couldn't pay the $120 bill. Ralph kept his phone, but barely charged it. Conserving electricity. May 31st. Evening. Connie borrowed Ralph's phone, opened LinkedIn. The only social platform where my profile still existed, where I hadn't blocked her. She found me. Profile photo from 3 years ago. Last post from November, before Thanksgiving, before everything. She typed carefully, deleted sentences, rewrote them, read it aloud quietly. Dad, I know I destroyed everything. I was a terrible daughter. But we're at rock bottom. Ralph wants to leave. I'm losing everything. I'm not asking for money. Just let me know you're alive. That somewhere out there, there's someone I once mattered to. Connie. She hit send, stared at the screen. Sent 3 hours ago. Refreshed. Nothing. In Costa Rica, I rarely checked LinkedIn anymore, but that evening something made me open it. Maybe habit, maybe curiosity. The notification appeared. Message from Connie Wells Morgan. I clicked it, read slowly. Dad, I know I destroyed everything. I read it twice. Felt something flicker. Maybe pity, maybe just acknowledgement of how far she'd fallen. The girl who used to draw pictures of our family with crayons. Who'd asked me to teach her how to change a tire. Then I remembered Thanksgiving. Her face across the table. The contempt. The public dismissal. The way everyone had laughed after I left. I closed the message, didn't respond, powered off the laptop, walked to the balcony. The sun was setting behind the mountains, turning everything orange and purple. Tomorrow, I'd delete the message. Tonight, I just watched the sky change colors. In Jacksonville, Connie sat on the motel bed, phone in hand, refreshed LinkedIn, no reply, no read notification, nothing. Ralph came in from work, saw her face, didn't ask, pulled $2 menu burgers from a paper bag. They ate in silence. The TV stayed off, couldn't afford the distraction. Ralph spoke from his bed. He's not going to answer. Connie kept refreshing anyway. The screen showed the same thing every time. Message sent. No reply. She was waiting for me to save her. I wasn't coming. The cafe in Escazú had become my morning routine. I'd arrive at 8, order coffee, open my German textbook. The waitress knew my order without asking. Conjugating verbs felt productive, purposeful. But the nights were different. Every night for 3 weeks, the same dream. Connie at 7 years old, running toward me after school with a drawing she'd made. Our house, stick figures holding hands, a yellow sun in the corner. I'd lift her onto my shoulders while she laughed. Then the dream would shift. Adult Connie at the Thanksgiving table, her face twisted with contempt. Nobody cares about your stories, old man. I'd wake in cold sweats, heart hammering. By dawn, I'd be on the balcony, staring at nothing. June 8th, morning email check. Most messages were spam or newsletters. Then one from an unfamiliar address caught my eye. Teresa.Martinez, Salon, email. Subject, about Connie. I almost deleted it. Then I opened it. Mr. Wells, I know this isn't my business, but Connie has been living in her car for the past 2 weeks. She and Ralph are getting divorced. She looks terrible. I've offered help, but she refuses. I don't know if you should know this, but if there's any humanity left in you, she's your daughter. She needs help. Teresa Martinez. I read it 3 times. My hands shook. Coffee sloshed over the rim of my cup onto the balcony table. I picked up my phone, dialed Webb. He answered on the second ring. Nelson, I need you to find someone. Who? Connie, my daughter. I need to know where she is, what she's doing. Pause, then, are you sure you want to know? Hire someone, today. I'll pay whatever it costs. Webb heard something in my voice. Didn't ask questions. I'll have preliminary information within 48 hours. 4 days later, June 12th, the email arrived. Subject, as requested. One attachment, report, at CWM, June 2025.pdf. My cursor hovered over the file for 10 seconds before I clicked. The report opened. Clinical, professional, brutal. Subject, Connie Wells Morgan. Current residence, 2008. Honda Civic, parked overnight at Walmart Supercenter. 16250 Atlantic BLVD, Jacksonville. Employment, 3 part-time positions. Janitorial work, $900 month. Restaurant server, $800 month. Food delivery driver, $500 month. Total monthly income, approximately $2,200, insufficient for rental housing deposit requirements in Jacksonville area, typically $3,000, $4,500 up front. Subject appears malnourished, exhausted. Vehicle shows signs of long-term occupation. I scrolled down. Photographs. Connie sleeping in the back seat of her car, curled under an old jacket. Morning light through fogged windows. Connie at 6 a.m., climbing out, stretching, looking around the parking lot to see if anyone was watching. Connie at a gas station bathroom, washing her face in the sink. Hair unwashed, dark circles, 20 pounds lighter than I remembered. She looked 50, not 38. I read further. Ralph had left in late May, moved to Georgia, his mother's house. Divorce papers filed June 3rd. No contact between them since. She was completely alone. I set the laptop down, walked to the balcony, sat in my chair as the sun rose. I'd been awake all night. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I asked myself the question I'd been avoiding. Was it worth this? I'd wanted her to understand consequences, to feel what it's like to lose everything. But this wasn't understanding. This was destruction. My daughter was sleeping in a car, washing her face in gas station bathrooms, working 3 jobs, and still couldn't afford a roof over her head. I spread the photographs across my dining table that night, studied them under the lamplight. This woman sleeping in a Walmart parking lot. I'd created this, methodically, legally, justly. But justice, I was discovering, looked different than I'd imagined. For 2 weeks, I couldn't stop looking at those photographs. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't focus on my German verbs or my peaceful routines. By the end of June, I'd made my decision. I opened my laptop, navigated to the airline website, typed San Jose to Jacksonville. Departure date, August 1st. One-way ticket. Clicked purchase. The confirmation appeared on screen. I closed the laptop and stared at the wall. I'd proven my point. She'd learned her lesson. But justice, I was discovering, didn't feel the way I'd imagined it would. It felt like a weight I couldn't put down. The plane touched down in Jacksonville at 6:45 a.m. August 1st. I rented a car at the airport, drove directly to Atlantic Boulevard. The Walmart parking lot appeared at 7:30. I scanned the rows. There. A faded blue Honda Civic, parked in a far corner, away from the security lights. I pulled into a space 3 cars away, turned off the engine, sat for a moment, gathering myself. Then I walked across the lot. Morning sun cast long shadows. I reached the Honda, looked through the rear window. The glass was slightly fogged. Connie lay on the back seat, curled under an old jacket, face turned toward the seat back, exactly like the photographs, gaunt, exhausted, broken. I tapped gently on the window. Once, twice. She stirred, sat up quickly, disoriented, probably used to security guards telling her to move. Then she saw me. Her face went through a sequence: fear, confusion, recognition, disbelief. She stared at me through the glass. Neither of us moved. Finally, she opened the door, climbed out slowly. She wore wrinkled work clothes, black pants, faded polo shirt, so thin. Dark circles carved into her face. We stood there. She couldn't speak. "Get in my car," I said, not a request. Her voice came out hoarse. "Dad, what are you—" "Just get in." She grabbed a backpack from the front seat, locked the Honda, followed me. The drive took 15 minutes. Neither of us spoke. Connie sat with the backpack on her lap, staring out the window, occasionally wiping tears with the back of her hand. I pulled into a small apartment complex in Riverside. Ground floor unit, modest neighborhood, safe. I parked, got out. She followed. I unlocked the apartment door, pushed it open, stepped aside. Connie walked in slowly, looked around, couch, table, small kitchenette, bedroom door, open. Basic furniture, clean, nothing fancy. She turned to face me, mouth opening to speak. "Rent's paid for 6 months," I said. "After that, you're on your own. I'm not coming back as your bank account, but I won't let you die on the street." "Dad, Don't." I reached into my jacket, pulled out a white envelope, extended it toward her. She took it with both hands like it might vanish. She opened it. Cash, $5,000, and a printed paper, address for the Workforce Development Center. Tears streamed down her face. "I haven't forgiven you," I said. "Maybe I never will, but you're my daughter, and that's a line I won't cross. I'm so sorry, for everything, for that night, for—" "I know, but sorry doesn't fix this. Only you can fix this." I gestured to the envelope. $5,000, and that address, job placement services. Use it wisely. "This is too much, I can't—" "This is all you get. Make it count." I walked toward the door, paused with my hand on the handle. "Build something, or don't. Your choice now." "Will I see you again?" I looked at her one last time. "I don't know." I left without further response, walked to my car, got in, started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I could see the apartment door still open. Connie standing there, watching me leave. I didn't leave Jacksonville immediately. For 2 weeks, I stayed at a hotel downtown, checking in with Webb daily. Through his contacts, I learned she'd found work. receptionist at a dental clinic, $42,000 a year. Started 3 days after I had given her the apartment. She'd enrolled in therapy through a community health center, showing up on time, keeping her head down, rebuilding. I watched from a distance, never made contact. August 28th, my last day in Florida. I drove to a cemetery on the south side before my evening flight. Walked to a grave I hadn't visited in years. Stood there for 20 minutes, hands clasped. My lips moved, not quite speaking aloud, not quite silent. Finally, I nodded once, turned, walked back to my car. At the airport, sitting at the gate, my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Thank you. I don't deserve this, but I will change. I promise. Connie." I read it. My thumb hovered over the reply button. Hovered. Then I locked the screen. Put the phone away. Stood when they called my boarding group. On the plane, I settled into my window seat. Watched Jacksonville disappear below as we climbed. I thought about the 9 months since Thanksgiving. Every decision, every consequence, this ending. I thought about the envelope with cash, the apartment key I'd left on the kitchen counter, the text message sitting unanswered in my phone. The war was over, not with victory or defeat, but with justice. I had no family anymore, not in the way I once did. But I had something I'd almost lost, my dignity, my self-respect, the knowledge that I wouldn't be used again. She had a chance now, 6 months of shelter, $5,000, a job, a path forward. What she did with it was no longer my responsibility. I'd drawn the line, and that was enough. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.